Hello, hello. Welcome back to No Me Callo. I won't stay quiet. I'm your host, Lomelin, and I want you to close your eyes for a second. Breathe slowly. Inhale deeply. Feel how the air pushes against that knot in your chest, and exhale gently, as if you were releasing a weight you've been carrying for years. Do you hear that silence? That is the sound of the after. That moment no one prepares you for. That second when the world stops, not because you're at peace, but because something inside you simply stopped weighing you down. In last week's episode, we talked about the fire, about that brutal, honest, gut-wrenching decision, that moment when you say, I can't keep carrying this, and you allow, with your soul shattered in pieces possibly, the things that were consuming you to finally burn. And after that episode, I got messages of people telling me, Jess, I let it burn, but now I'm afraid of the emptiness. Jess, I don't know who I am without that pain. Jess, the fire ended, but I'm still shaking. And I get it, because no one talks about what happens after the wildfire. We talk about the flames, the courage, the liberation, but we don't talk about the burnt ground, the smell of ash that sticks to your skin, the silence that comes when the chaos dies, and you're left with no noise, no distractions, no roles to perform, no one left to save, just you. You with a calm so strange, so new, so immense that instead of giving you peace, it terrifies you. And no one tells you that once everything burns, there are no instructions, no map, no compass, just a bare landscape, and you standing there, feeling like any step might break you. But listen to me, that emptiness that scares you, that silence that makes you uncomfortable, that feeling that you don't recognize who you are, those are not signs of loss. They are signs of beginning. And that's why today's episode is called Space and Time, Espacio y Tiempo. Because after the fire, you don't need answers. You need the space to hear yourself without noise and the time to not rush your rebirth. So today, we're going to step into that place, that private, perhaps uncomfortable space where no one can come rescue you, but where you can finally find yourself. We're going in without hurry, without expectations, without masks, without the pressure to be strong, without the need to be okay. Because even if it hurts, even if you tremble, even if it feels like an abyss, right there, exactly there is where your real life begins. And today, I'm going to walk with you. So you already know what to do. Get comfy, grab your coffee, your cafecito, your glass of wine, or your cold beer, and get ready to chismear with me. So first I want you to picture again the example of the house I mentioned in the previous episode, but today I want you to imagine that house in ruins. The house that once gave you shelter, the house you once filled with photos, with promises, with routines that made you believe you were okay. Now you're standing in the middle of scorched remains, twisted pieces, collapsed walls, objects you can't even recognize anymore. And even though you lit that fire because it was necessary, now you're facing the result. There's nothing left to hold on to. And this is where everything truly begins, because here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the most painful part isn't losing something. It's realizing how long you spent holding on to something that was already dead. The ruins tell you things the walls never said, like, here's where you abandoned yourself. Here is where you carry more than you could have handled. Here is where you stayed quiet so you wouldn't lose anyone. Here's where you faked happiness so you wouldn't cause problems. And the ruins don't lie. The ruins confront you with your entire story. But a lot of people confuse ruins with failure. But ruins don't speak about what you lost. Ruins speak about what you survived. And space is the first thing that shows up after the fire. But it's not a pretty space, it's not a Pinterest space, it's an uncomfortable one. Cruel even. Because it's the space where you hear the voice you spent years ignoring. And space sounds like this. I'm tired of being strong. I'm exhausted from holding everything together. Who am I without this pain? What do I really want? Why am I afraid of silence? Space feels like an emotional undressing, like taking off an armor that once saved you but is now suffocating you. For example, I've had many survivors tell me, Jessica, for the first time in years, I have peace, and I feel guilty. I don't know what to do with so much silence. Peace for someone who lived in survival mode for too long doesn't feel like rest. It feels like a threat, like the body doesn't trust it, because space activates traumas that were asleep, memories the noise kept buried, truths you didn't face when you were busy saving everyone but yourself. And here's what I need you to understand. Space doesn't show up to punish you. It shows up to return you to you. Space asks questions like, what part of your life was being occupied by something or someone who no longer deserved to be there? What dreams did you put on pause because you were busy surviving? What boundaries did you never set out of fear of losing love? What version of you is crying to come out? Space is uncomfortable because it's honest, because it doesn't distract you, it doesn't lie to you, it doesn't entertain you. Space is the first form of freedom, and freedom, when you've never known it, is terrifying. And here, I'd say this is where we enter the heart of the episode. The part almost no one talks about, the part that never makes it to Instagram, that part that doesn't work as a cute motivational quote. Time. Time is the most patient teacher, and at the same time, the cruelest. Because time forces you to wait, and nobody likes to wait when their soul is hurting. So let me describe how time works. Time lets you grieve the same loss 1,000 times. It forces you to repeat lessons until you truly understand them. It sends you memories when you least suspect them. And it makes you walk backwards right when you thought you were finally moving forward. Time confronts you with every part of yourself that needs transformation, whether it's the inner child who still fears being abandoned, the adult who became strong because there was no other choice, the part of you that believes you must earn love, the part that thinks resting is being weak, the part that falls in love with people's potential instead of their reality. Time works slowly because you are deep. And anything deep never heals quickly. Sometimes it's not that you're not moving forward, it's that you're healing slowly. And the scar is one of the most beautiful forms of memory. And you know why? Because the scar isn't broken skin. It's the skin that came back together, skin that rebuilt itself, skin that rose again. And if it hurts that it's taking you so long to get your life back, remember this. The strongest trees are the ones that grew after the wildfire. Because burned soil is fertile. Because fire cracks the seed open. Because heat awakens what was once asleep. And you are the seed awakened by fire. And time is allowing you to bloom at your own pace, not at the pace of the world. But maybe there's a moment and you don't know exactly when it arrives, you just feel it. When something in your chest clicks. And it's not a real sound, it's more like a whisper, a small awakening that tells you, enough, it's time. And one day you wake up and the sadness feels different. As if suddenly it no longer crushes you. It kind of just walks beside you while you decide what to do with it. And one day you look in the mirror and notice your eyes don't look as tired. As if they recovered a little piece of light you thought was gone. And one day you say no, without shaking, without guilt, without explaining it. One day you set a boundary and you realize no one died because of it. One day you laugh sincerely from your stomach and you hadn't even realized how much you missed that laugh. One day you remember what hurt you, and still you breathe without breaking, without collapsing, without going back. That day, you are reborn. And you don't come back as who you were before. You don't come back as who you wish you were years ago. You don't come back as who people expected you to be. You are reborn as who you truly are now, someone who survived the fire and had the courage, the real courage to stay and see what remained in the ashes. And in those ashes, you discover something, that not everything was lost, that some parts of you resisted the fire, that others transformed, and that some needed a burn. Your rebirth won't be loud. There won't be an applause or a public announcement. It will be more intimate, more honest, and it will be you making different decisions. You guarding your peace as if it were secret. You honoring your own rhythm without comparing it to anyone else's. You protecting your energy like it's gold because no one knows how much it costs to recover it. You repairing what is worth saving and releasing without fear what isn't. You learning to trust your hands again, your voice, your intuition, that part of you that always knew the way, because there is nothing more powerful than someone who was once broken and chose to rebuild. Not quickly, not perfectly, not to please anyone, but in your own way, in your own time, and in your own space. And you are in that moment. That click you felt wasn't an accident. It was your soul saying, we're not just surviving anymore. Now we live. And as always, I want to recommend you a book, and today's book is called When Things Fall Apart, Cuando Todo Se Derrumba by Pema Chodron. And it perfectly accompanies the moment I talk about in this episode when there's that instant after the fire, when you've already let everything that was consuming you burn, and you're left standing in front of the emptiness, without answers and without structure. The book explains with deep honesty that when life breaks and there's nowhere left to hide, an uncomfortable but necessary space appears. That same space I'm talking about today, where you can finally hear yourself without noise, without roles, without pressure. Pema teaches us that you don't need to feel that emptiness quickly, that you don't need to rush, because silence and time are also part of that healing. This book validates the fear, the internal chaos, the uncertainty, and they show how staying with yourself in those raw moments can become one of your greatest sources of transformation. So that's why it connects so deeply with this episode, because both speak about the power of staying in that space and respecting your own timing, even when it hurts, even when it feels like nothing is moving. Both remind you that after everything collapses, your true rebirth begins. So I want to leave you with these words. Keep them, return them when it hurts, when your soul feels small, when you start forgetting who you really are. What burned already fulfilled its purpose. And yes, sometimes it does hurt to look at the ashes. It hurts to accept that a part of you had to burn so you could keep going. But nothing that was lost was truly yours yet. The fire never takes what is essential, only what no longer had permission to stay. What hurt you no longer has power over you. That pain that stayed with you for years, the one you thought defined you, the one you learned to carry as if it were part of your identity, it no longer rules you. You still feel it, yeah. It still touches you some nights, but it no longer directs your life. It no longer decides for you. What once broke you now reminds you that you're still standing. That space that makes you uncomfortable is making room for your truth. And I know silence can be terrifying. I know that being alone with yourself can make your mind speak too loudly. But that empty space you hate is not absence, it's preparation. It's your soul moving furniture, cleaning windows, opening corners, so you can inhabit yourself again. That hole you feel is your truth trying to find you. And the time that frustrates you, it's the same time that is healing you. Because maybe you think you're behind, that you're late, that you should be better by now, stronger, more whole. But healing does not follow anyone else's clock. Time does not make mistakes. Sometimes it slows down because you need to understand something. Sometimes it stretches because you need to rest. Sometimes it pushes you because you're ready, even if you don't believe it yet. Time is working with you, not against you. And as you listen to these words, I want you to remember something else. You are stronger than you think, not because of what you've endured, but because you can still feel, even after being broken. You are deeper than you show. There are oceans inside you that nobody knows, because your story didn't start where they hurt you. It started where you learned to rise. And you are wiser than you allow yourself to acknowledge. Your intuition has been trying to speak to you for years, and now that you're finally making space, you can hear it. You will be reborn, not by force, not rushing, not pretending to be okay. You will reborn at your pace, in your time, in your space. You will reborn in truth. And this time, your life will finally feel like it belongs to you. In the description of the episode, you'll find the Amazon link with the complete list of books mentioned on No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet, from the first episode to today. And don't forget, every Friday there's a new episode waiting for you. Next episode is called I Am Not Responsible for Your Sanity. Yo no soy responsable por tu sanidad. Because after today's episode where we talked about reclaiming your space and reclaiming your time, about clearing out everything inside you that was taking up places it no longer deserved, the conversation can't end there. Because when you start recovering your space, when you start honoring your time, something happens. You realize how many people were living emotionally inside you without paying rent. So next week's episode opens that wound and that truth. I am not responsible for your healing. I am not responsible for your emotional stability. And I am not responsible for holding what you refuse to look at. Today we talked about cleaning, releasing, reorganizing the soul, but now comes the hardest part, setting real boundaries, saying this space is mine, my time matters, and this burden is no longer mine to carry. Next week, we're entering that complicated territory where love, guilt, loyalty, and fear all mix together. That place where we realize that for years we confuse supporting with rescuing and loving with saving. I'm going to share stories, wounds, and also liberations. Moments where I lost myself trying to fix other people's lives and what I discovered when I finally said, no, your healing is yours. Your process is yours. And I choose to return to myself. If today's episode helped you to open up a space and reclaim time, next week's episode will help you protect it. So get ready. This boundary doesn't just heal you, it redefines your entire life. And a reminder, throughout all of November, every Friday you can participate in the No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet giveaway. We already had a fourth winner, Alfonso, congrats, but you still have one last chance to win a physical book from the ones I've recommended on the podcast, plus some extra goodies. To participate is super simple. Share any episode, old or new, on your socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and tag me so I can see it. You can also email me at nomecallowithjessica@gmail.com telling me your favorite episode, episode or something you learned from this one or any other. You can also comment on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon Music and tell me which episode impacted you or left you thinking. And every time you do one of these, you can earn an entry, and you can do as many times as you want. The giveaway is open to everyone inside and outside of the US. You have from today, November 28th, until Sunday, November 30th at 11:59 p.m. Central Time to send your entries. I'll announce the last winner of the November giveaway on Monday, December 1st. Good luck. You've been listening to No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet. I'm your host, Jessica Lomelin. Until next time.